Ty, you've talked about some treatments for cancer that there's possibly certain herbs and other therapies besides the big three that can work. Why are some of those natural treatments not more popular around here, not or being suppressed even?
Yeah, the reason that many natural treatments are being suppressed is they're not lucrative. Because the big
Hmm.
pharmaceutical companies, I call it big pharma in the book, they run the show. Big pharmaceutical companies are after drug money. It's a business. It's a cancer industry. It's a cancer business. And so when a natural supplement or a natural herbal product comes on the market that has an effective track record with treating cancers in tests, um, that that supplement will be destroyed if it comes out as a cancer treating substance. I mean, number one, you can't even claim
Right.
to treat cancer unless you're FDA approved. So if that happens, you're gonna be destroyed. But if it comes out as just an herbal supplement, and then people begin to make claims on their own, maybe the patients begin to make claims about it or say, well, this really healed my cancer. Even then, they're not safe because the FDA is controlled by big pharmaceutical companies. If you look at the board of directors, there was a study that was done in 1999, I believe, and maybe it was 2000, and it looked at the top folks in the FDA and then the board of directors in big pharmaceutical companies. And at that time, they looked at 48 of those top officials, and of those 48, 39 held positions in both. So you have the fox guarding the henhouse,
Hmm.
right? You have big pharmaceutical companies in the FDA, boards of directors, the chief executive officers, the people that make decisions in those organizations, all the same. So in light of that fact, in light of the fact that those folks that own the stock in the big pharmaceutical companies that are on their boards, and they're also in the FDA, or they're also in positions of power with the FDA, are they going to cut their own foot off by allowing herbal supplements to overtake the drugs that they're making money on?
Hmm.
It's not going to happen. It just doesn't happen.
Hmm.
So supplement, and there are many instances of supplements that have come out, different cancer protocols that have come out, folks that were treating cancer at clinics naturally, and they were destroyed by the FDA. There was a cancer inquiry of the United States Senate Committee in 1953, and this was over 50 years ago. And they concluded, the Senate Committee concluded that there was an active conspiracy to suppress natural treatments in the United States. And since that time, three or four different people that held high positions in the FDA have come out and agreed with that after they've left,
Hmm.
that there's active suppression of cancer treatments, natural cancer treatments, by the FDA. And the reason is
Hmm.
money.
And still nothing's changed though, even
Nothing's
though that's
changed.
come out 50, 60 years
Nothing's
ago.
changed. No, it's worse. If anything,
Hmm.
it's worse.
So one of the reasons then why we see doctors losing their license. Some have even I've heard stories of them being put in jail for practicing exactly what
Yes,
you've mentioned.
that's why. It's all about the bottom line. It's all
Hmm.
about money. And I've got a chapter in the book called Persecution and Suppression, I think, at the first of the book, before I get into the treatments. And it details story after story of doctors that were either thrown in jail, run out of the country, or killed for using natural treatments. And why did I include it in the book? Because this is a very in-your-face book. I wanted to tell the truth.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of books out there about cancer, natural treatments for cancer, that are really as in-your-face as my book. And the reason is, well, I'm kind of that kind of guy. And so I'm just going to be me. And I got to tell the truth. And I was mad when I wrote it
Hmm.
because I feel like that if this information was made available to the public, my mom and dad would still be alive. And so I was a little bit angry when I was writing this book, especially the first chapters when I'm dealing with the cover-up on the war on cancer, what a fraud it is, and the suppression of treatments and the persecution of doctors. And so I wanted to make it clear that why do you not know about these treatments that are in my book? Because they're being suppressed. And if you don't include that part of the book doesn't make sense because then you have a book about natural treatments that nobody's ever heard of, and they think there's no possible way that they could even work because they've never heard of them. You got to explain to them, why have you never heard of this?
Hmm.
How can you have valid treatments that you've never heard of? Here's why: being suppressed.
Have you seen any of that firsthand? Either doctors, yourself, come under fire, people trying to discredit you, anything like that?
Oh yeah, and you can go out and just do a Google search of my name on the internet and find out that I'm a quack. I'm all kinds of things. I mean, the list is endless
Hmm.
of critical comments about me, which is
Hmm.
fine. I mean, it goes with the territory.
Yeah.
it goes with the territory. But yeah, and as far as doctors, I know many doctors that have moved out of the country because of this. Some of them have asked not to mention their names because they don't want people to know where they are.
Move out of the country, but to still be able to practice then.
Well,
Correct?
they're moving out of the country so they can practice, and they practice medicine in other countries, or they'll do phone consultations from other countries. But yeah, many doctors that I know personally that have left the country because we have the guise of freedom here, of health freedom in the United States, but there really isn't as much health freedom as people think. There's health freedom if you fall under the umbrella of the protocols that are approved by the Federal Death Organization, the FDA. Okay, but if you don't fall under their umbrella, there is no freedom. And so so if you don't fall under their umbrella and you aren't using prescribed approved drugs of the FDA, you can't effectively treat cancer with natural supplements because they don't fall under the umbrella, and so you're in trouble. And if you do fall under their umbrella, you're going to have to use drugs, and drugs don't work to treat cancer. So it's a catch-22 for these doctors. And they're told, I mean, I was doing an interview maybe 3 years ago with a doctor that had a radio show out of El Paso, and he said when he was going through medical school, they told him, he started to learn about nutrition and herbs and supplements and all this good stuff. And they told him that if you talk about herbs to your patients, you talk about nutrition, you talk about supplementation, you're going to lose your license. He said it was at that point that he dropped out of medical school and he became a naturopath.